Just by looking at this position in the center, you might think that you've come to a reversey lesson, but since I'm not much of a reversey player, I can hardly tell you a lot about it, but I can tell you about a crosscut in Go, when we use it and how to respond to it. It is quite a powerful weapon. And if you play handicap games with stronger opponents, you probably noticed that this technique is used against you very often. They attach and they cut, they attach and then they cut. What should you do in response? We have a proverb for this situation. It goes like this: after a crosscut, extend. That is, if it's black's turn now, white is just cut, then extend either this way or this way. There's no rule as to which direction is better. This way or that way. In most cases, this is exactly what you need to do in response. Just extend, don't play Atari. And just to show you some wrong responses, it is very rare that playing 2 Ataris is recommended in response to a crosscut. Play Atari once, play it twice, and then connect. This is almost always wrong, with very few exceptions. When do we play Atari? There's an exception to the rule, and the proverb doesn't tell us about this. We play Atari if we can create a bad shape for the opponent, if we can create an empty triangle for the opponent. Suppose white already had 2 stones here beforehand. It's a black's turn, and here, first of all, we have to think about playing Atari. Why? By playing this Atari, we force white to connect, and white gets an empty triangle. And here, even if we, for example, sacrifice 1 stone to white like this, we see that white's shape is not perfect, and black is happy. Where else do we play Atari? Suppose we have this position, and black to play. Here, it may be advantageous to play Atari for black. And then connect. What's the point? Because in the process, we damaged one of the opponent's stones, weakened one of white's stones. So here's the rule. We almost always extend. On rare occasions, we can play Atari and connect, and almost never play 2 Ataris. With 2 Ataris, let's see an example. Let's say we have such a position. White attaches and cuts. If we want 2 Ataris to become correct for black, 1 Atari and another one, these are very, very rare cases. Usually, this is bad for black. We have really strengthened the opponent from the outside. Let's now see specific examples. I will show you some games of professionals and some played by Q players. Let's start with an example from a game of Q-level players. 3Q played black and 1Dan played white here. First, let's see if it was generally appropriate for black to play a crosscut. What happened in the game? In response to white's Moya reducing move, black attached to this stone. Here we remember the proverb, don't attach to a weak stone, so this is already a violation. And then cut, and it looks dubious for black. Why? Because white has a way to break out of the encirclement, strengthen his group, and at the same time weaken the black stone from below. What do we do? The correct way for white is not an extension in this case. We can just play Atari. If black extends, we connect here in response. And we see that the black stone down there has been hurt in the process, and white easily makes shape here. Here's what happened in the game. In the game, black responded to the Atari with a counter Atari. This is a 3Q player and an absolutely real game. White captured, and black defended. How would you evaluate such a result? Can black be happy with this? For black, this is a very sad outcome. Why? We gave a Panuki to white. It doesn't really look like 30 points here, but this shape will definitely make white 15 or 20 points. Gote for black, and black got a defect. Here is a general example of how we should never use cross-cutting. This is not the case where it's needed. Now let me show you an example from a real game of professionals. Yamashita played black here against some less known Chinese player. Black's turn. Black wants to close his bottom area. We see that black has many weaknesses here. There is still a possible invasion here, and some weaknesses in the corner, and an invasion down there. At the same time, the white group on the right, we can say that it's quite strong. It is difficult to attack it. White has good access to the center. So what did black decide to play? If you just close the territory, for example, to defend this way, this is not solid territory yet. White can live there if he wants to. We can choose an even safer move here, probably, but we don't want to play so passively. Therefore, what Yamashita chose here, and by the way, according to the program, this was a very good plan. Modern programs are very fond of such ideas. Yamashita played an attachment. Attaching in order to... It fits our lesson about making the opponent over-concentrated. That is, if the white group is strong, if we don't plan to attack it, we can attach and see how white will react. And if it works, for example, if white just extends, we extend. If white keeps on extending, white definitely becomes stronger, but on the other hand, we're making territory along the 7th line. It'll be very nice for black to take all this. White, of course, doesn't want to play so passively, so in the game, white played hane, and then a crosscut. Cut. And here we see that white needs to play very carefully because black has more stones here, and white can be attacked from all sides, and this is exactly the beauty of black's attachment. In the game, white extended, following the proverb extend after a crosscut. And next, so that the ladder didn't work, the ladder is in white's favor now, black played atari first, and then extended down. Now white can't capture the stone anymore, and white has a very difficult problem here. What to do next? If white tries to save both groups, for example, by playing here, black connects, white defends, and this kind of fight begins. It's quite dangerous for white. Enemies are all around, white has 2 unstable groups, white can easily die with one of the groups here. Therefore, in the game, white decided not to start this fight. They decided to take a stone and stabilize one of the groups. But white had to give up the 2 stones in the center. And this is a great success for black. Black has defended the bottom area, and the stones in the center are practically dead. Black's attaching and cutting. This turned out to be a successful combination performed by Yamashita. Let me show you an example from the game of 2 Korean 9-dans, Lee Chan-ho and Cho Hoon-hyun, teacher and student. Cho Hoon-hyun played white here, and white wanted to destroy the black area below. A standard attachment to the corner enclosure was chosen for that. If black plays some kind of pincer, as we've already seen, an attachment at Sansan will follow immediately, and there should be no good variations for black here. Therefore, usually this attachment, next black plays from above, white extends, and here black can choose to either go down, or this shape. Less pressure on white, but the black group is already stable. White will not have an unpleasant knight's move. In the game, they played like this. White extended, black attached, white extended, and then black scooped out the base of this group. And in response, white played an attachment in order to make sabaki here. White doesn't feel like running along dame points. For example, this way the group will be heavy, so white would like to somehow make shape on the spot. White attaches. If black plays here, then the base is almost ready. And if black plays here, as in the game, then we cut. And here's another question black to play. How would you complete the shape for black? How to respond to the crosscut? This is the case when the proverb doesn't apply. Why? Because we can create an empty triangle for the opponent, starting with atari. So in the game, black played atari. White had to connect with an empty triangle. You see, the shape has become worse. And then we just give up the cutting stone. White takes it. And in the end, we see that the white group seems to have become more stable, but it can still get under attack. Black kept the territory below and kept sente. So this is the case when, instead of extending, as the proverb advises, we choose atari.
By the way, you can also watch these lessons on our platform, gomagic.org. Except there, you'll watch them with interactive quizzes right within the lessons and practical exercises right after them. And if you enjoy watching these Go videos and you don't want to miss others like this one, go smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is Go Magic.